Okay, so for this next video lecture, we will be discussing about audit strategy. So the overall audit strategy will set the scope, timing, and direction of the audit, and it will also guide the development of the audit plan. So in developing an overall audit strategy, the auditor should consider the following. So actually, we mentioned earlier that planning should be the first stage. However, strategy or audit strategy can be formulated in the beginning before the planning stage. And audit strategy will include planning. Okay, but in some cases, planning comes first and then strategy will come in. So depending on the auditor, but normally here in the audit, they will have the audit strategy first. Okay, so under the audit strategy, so we have here the following factors that the auditor should consider. So first is they should during the audit strategy or in the audit strategy, they will identify the characteristics of the engagement that define its scope. So here, basically, the auditor will have the picture of how the audit will be conducted, and they will also determine what type of audit engagement they will perform with the entity. That's why in this case, they should, or during the strategy formulation, they can identify already these characteristics of the engagement, even its scope, which will be included as well during the audit planning. So another factor that they should consider is to ascertain the reporting objectives of the engagement. So they should ascertain the reporting objectives of the engagement to plan the timing and the audit and the nature of required communication. So here again, since the auditor will have the greater picture of what the audit will be conducted, so therefore they can ascertain the objectives of the engagement, and then the plan, how the timing, and the nature that is required, especially for the communications from the predecessor auditor, the management, or those charged with governance, and even the employees or all of the people within the entity which they think that are capable of gathering audit evidences. So another is in the developing of the overall audit strategy, the auditor should also consider significant factors in directing the engagement team's effort. So this is very important because the senior auditor should direct the work and the procedures that should be conducted by the staff or the team or the audit team members, because in this case there might be some members who are not very familiar with the nature and type of audit that they are in. So there should be someone who will direct their work. So another is the auditor should also consider the results of the preliminary engagement activities. So we have mentioned this before in our previous video lecture that preliminary engagement activities or pre-engagement procedures are done, especially for the purpose of identifying whether the auditor will accept or reject the engagement, or uncovering some issues that may have existed in the previous audit engagement with the predecessor auditor, and so on. So this will help the successor auditor to plan and conduct his audit procedures in the current audit engagement. Okay, another is they should ascertain the nature, timing, and extent also of the resources needed to perform the engagement. So if that is available and is able to be gathered, especially from the client, or uh, requirements or resources that is needed by the team members, such as their competencies and qualifications, okay, and other things, or technology even. Okay, so in this video lecture, we will continue with the next topic. This is about timing and extent of direction and supervision of management team members and review of their work. So we have mentioned this as one of the considerations during the formulation of the audit strategy a while ago. So the auditor should plan the nature, timing, and extent of direction and the supervision of the engagement team members. So they will review their work by considering the following factors. First, of course, is the size and the complexity of the entities. So we have mentioned before that the nature, timing, and extent of the audit planning and procedures will also vary according to the size and complexity of the entity. So when the supervisor will look after the work and review, okay, the work of their team members, so they should also consider this factor, because this will depend, or this will dictate the extent and the scope of the audit procedures that they will perform. Okay, another is the area of the audit. Okay, so in this case, they might consider some areas which they are not good at. So that's why we've mentioned also before that they may need the help of the expert or even the internal auditor. Okay, so the team members will also be supervised, or their work will be reviewed by the supervisor, especially that if they will encounter those areas in which they are not expert or good at. Okay, so another is the assessed risk of material misstatement. So here, for example, if the initial assessment of the risk of material misstatement is high, so here the auditor should make sure that they will perform the necessary substantive procedures or further procedures in order for them to minimize that material misstatement or risk of material misstatement. That's why the review here of the work of their team members is very important. Okay, so we will be discussing more of that in the next module, in which we will focus on the assessment of risks. Okay, so another is the capabilities and competence of the individual team members, okay, and how they perform the audit work. So again, since not all of the audit team member might be very competent, so maybe some of them have been in the field for quite a short time only or yet, so they need still the supervision of the supervisor or senior auditor. Okay, so again, this will also help the auditor, especially in minimizing the risk of material misstatement if that is assessed initially as high. Okay, so those are the different factors that the senior auditor should consider in the supervision of the engagement of their team members and the review of their audit work.